Hi there, good afternoon. You're tuned into ET now, and this is Market Fatafat with me, Cheryl D'Souza. Along with me, I have Vinny Motiwala. Very good afternoon to you, Vinny. And it is actually transpiring to be a very good afternoon because after initial dip, after the open, markets has seen a good recovery. We have surpassed those 18,750 levels or so. We are just about 120 or 130 points away for the record high levels when it comes to Nifty. Talking about what Nifty Bank is doing at this point in time, because remember that Nifty Bank also was moving in tandem with the benchmark indices, but for now it is underperforming the benchmark indices. It is in the negative territory. Talking about the broader markets today, they are moving in tandem with the benchmark indices. You have the mid cap and the small caps posting mild gains right now. Let's shift focus to the sectoral indices then, and you have most of the sectors that have recovered from the day's lowest point. Case in point being IT index. At one point in time it was seeing sharper cuts, but right now it has recovered from the day's lowest point and it is trading with cuts of about 0.2%. Media index is the other one that is declining in trade today. But talking about the gainers is the metal index, energy, FMCG and realty, all of them holding on to good gains as we speak. So that's the way how the markets are looking like right now. Vinny, if you look at it, we are just about 130 points away from the record high levels for the Nifty.
Okay, 130 points away from the record high levels for Nifty. Surely keeping an eye out on that. But on that note, let's get started with all those stocks that are buzzing in trade today. In focus either on the back of news flows or on the back of technicals. On the technicals, today we're joined by Sumeet Mulchhandani. While from the research team, we have Harsh as well as Ashesha joining in with us. A very good afternoon to all three of you all. Good afternoon to you as well, Cheryl. And I'm going to be starting with the first stock as always. Let's pick up the name coming in from the IT space. We have Persistent Systems. That one is in focus because JP Morgan has downgraded the stock to an underweight from a previous neutral rating. They've also cut the target price for to 4,100 rupees from previous 4,200 rupees. Other than that, in terms of obviously this downgrade is on the rising risk from discretionary tech spend cuts, and as the highest exposure to discretionary spends at 83% is what it has versus peers who have around in the range of 40 to 75%. What they find in terms of the valuation, JP Morgan highlighted that the valuation seemed a bit expensive for Persistent Systems, given that there's a slow growth in a tough macro, and that also limits any potential margin expansion as well. They've cut the EPS earnings estimate by 3 to 4% over FY24 to 26. That's the earnings cut that they've given, driven by the revenue cuts as well. So on the back of this today, we're seeing that Persistent System is down, recovered from that lowest point, but still down 2.18% as of now.
All right, that's Persistent for you. Let's move on and let's talk about the top gainer on the bourses today, and it has to be the metal index and metal players as well. If you look at Nifty Metal Index, that actually jumped to more than 4-month high, and it is the top sectoral gainers, like I mentioned. If you look at what is actually keeping the metal sector abuzz is the fact that China had lowered their short-term lending rate to add momentum to the post-COVID-19 economic recovery. And analysts that were polled by various agencies are expecting the China Central Bank to go ahead and cut borrowing costs of medium-term policy loans on Thursday. Also, they are saying that on back of all of these rate cuts coming in China, you had copper that rose to 1-month high level as well. So all of these factors, the fact that China is moving ahead in order to give some buoyancy to the economy with a rate cut, you can see metal index that is seeing good jump in today's trading session, and a lot of metal counters as well, be it Tata Steel, JSW Steel, all of them are buzzing in trade today.
Okay. Surely that push coming in for the metal space. But let's move on and talk about Varrock Engineering on the chart. Samit, that's the first one you've picked out for us. Today seeing gains of almost 3 to 4%. Last week also it's picked up that momentum and pace in the last month if you look at it. What is the target that you're keeping for Varrock Engineering now?
So yes, in the May last week also we advised to accumulate this stock near the 300 levels. For the target of 345 and 73. So if you will look today, it has almost touched our first target also, and gave a 15% return in last 10 to 12 sessions. So we'll advise to book partially here, but if anybody has a view for next 2 to 3 months, it is looking good, and one can accumulate here also. So keep the stop loss of now 300 levels, which was the previous entry cost to cost. So upside we are expecting more upside till 373 and 420 levels also.
All right, moving on. Ashesha, Anupam Rasayan, why is this in news today?
Anupam Rasayan is in focus, and that is because the company has signed a letter of intent with the Japanese company. This is the largest LOI that the company has ever signed, to the tune of 2,186 odd crores. It has been signed with one of the leading Japanese specialty chemical companies. Revenue potential for the order stands at about 265 million US dollars, which translates to about 2,186 odd crores. The company will be supplying new age patented life science active ingredient, which will be done for a period of 5 years. And analysts believe that they remain apprehensive of the company's high weightage, which is impacting the return profile of the company, and order execution, of course, remains the key. Analysts are not very bullish with the kind of order inflows that the company has seen. The stock is off the highest point of the day, but despite that, it is sitting on with gains of a little over 0.2%.
Okay. Keep an eye out on that one. But moving on, Harsh, Granules India, this one is buzzing and actually trading with gains of almost 1% as of now. Any specific reason for this being in focus?
Well, yes. So it was in the news today morning because it announced that it has received approval from the US FDA, or the US Food and Drug Administration, with regard to another ANDA, if I can call it, which is an abbreviated new drug application for those who are uninitiated on that one. So they've received an ANDA approval for Levetiracetam tablets of all mgs, 250, 500, 750 as well as 1000. Now, largely this drug is used for seizures, so partial onset seizures, myoclonic seizures, as well as primary generalized tonic-clonic seizures. All of these are used, the drug is used to treat all of these. And on the back of that, Granules now has a total of 58 ANDA approvals from the US FDA, 56 final approvals as well as 2 tentative approvals. That's what the company has released. For this particular drug, the market of around $250 million ought to be tapped according to MAT, which is definitely a plus for Granules, on the back of which we saw a bit of a spike on the stock early on in trade, as well as it's continuing to trade in the green.
All right, moving on. So let's talk about Macrotech developers. No doubt this morning there was a note that was circulating from Nuvama saying that that Macrotech is racing towards MSCI Standard Index inclusion, and not just Macrotech developers as well as Tata Communication. Both of them needed some percentage gains in order to make it to that list. But do you think that Macrotech will be able to make it to that list and we will see stronger gains coming in for this particular counter going ahead?
As per the charts, yes, we are expecting. But if any swing trader is there, we would just advise to book some profit here, because it is trading in the overbought zone. So would advise to. But if anybody has a view for 3 to 6 months, one can keep a SL of 600, and we are expecting ahead 880 and 940 levels. So hold tightly here.
Okay. Let's keep an eye out on those levels for Macrotech. Let's move on then to the next stock, and that is Bajaj Electric. This one is in focus on the back of a bulk deal, and we got in some details last evening. That is, Society General actually purchased 6 lakh equity shares at a price of around 1,175 rupees per share, which is aggregating to a total of around 70 crores approximately in terms of the buying that they have done. Other than that, what is happening also on the other hand, what we are understanding also is that BSE Small Cap World Fund Inc. has actually offloaded on the BSE Small Cap World Fund Inc. has offloaded around 10 lakh 92,000 equity shares of the company. So that is amounting to 128 crores. So keep an eye out on this one. Society General purchasing 6 lakh of those equity shares is something that is keeping the stock a buzz, up 2.5% in trade at 1,216 rupees a share.
All right, let's shift focus and let's talk about a metal player, and that is Shyam Metallics. Sumeet, and ever since his listing also, this one has been seeing good gains over the last 3 months. 22% uptick coming in on Shyam Metallics. Today also stock is a buzz in the trading session. Where do you see headed from here on? Do you think that it will build on more gains just like the rest of the metal pack, which is buzzing on back of good news flows?
Yeah, today the stock is up by almost 10%. It was once there is some profit booking, Last week also it has gave a flag breakout, but 4 to 5 days consolidation after, and today finally it gave the. So if you will see the levels of 330, so it is almost near to the 52-week high. So on the weekly closing also, if it is able to close above the 330 levels, we are expecting more upside. So the target can be 384 and 415. One can keep a stop loss of 316 here.
Right, moving on, then let's take a look at what the IT pack is doing. No doubt the IT sector has recovered, or IT index has recovered from the day's lowest point, but all of them were actually, stocks were under pressure in today's trading session. And why is that? Because you have JP that has come out with a note. We know that it has downgraded Persistent, but it has come out with a note on the entire IT sector where they've reiterated their negative view across the IT services universe, and they're expecting all IT firms to mistreat expectations in the June quarter as well as in the first half or second half of FY24 as discretionary spending is falling. So they've placed emphasis, TCS, emphasis, all of them on their negative catalyst watch. Like Vinny had mentioned, they've downgraded Persistent as well. And they have also taken a call on the rest of the other IT players like LTI, Mindtree, LTTS, Persistent, Tata Elxsi. All of their targets also have been cut. They've also flagged high exposure to discretionary spends at 83% for Persistent as well. So that's the reason that why the downgrade is coming for that particular counter. So yes, JP Morgan pretty bearish on IT.
Okay, let's move on and talk about Tata Coffee on the charts then, Sumit. What are you understanding in terms of charts? What are the patterns that one is seeing over there? And could that indicate any sort of a run-up that we could see in Tata Coffee?
If you will see from last almost 2 years, the stock was in the range, and the range is nearby the 200 to 250. But finally today it is able to give the close above the 250 levels. So we are expecting the upside, and fresh buying can be seen here. So upside we have a targets of 284 and 305 levels.
Moving on, Ashesha, why is KEC International in focus today?
Wins is the reason KEC International is in focus. It is off the highest point of the day, but despite that, it is sitting on with some marginal gains. The company yesterday informed the exchanges that they've won orders worth about 1,373 crores across business verticals. They said that they've won orders across railway, civil, T&D and cable segment. Meanwhile, management commentary is also quite positive. They say that civil business continues to witness an exponential growth trajectory, which is reflected in the orders that they've secured yesterday. The repeat order in T&D from an existing private developer reaffirms the growth in India T&B segment. As far as tower supply orders is concerned, they say that they are witnessing good traction in this segment, especially in the Northern America region. So strong commentary coming in over there. Order win is the reason the stock is in focus today.
The reason why KEC International is in focus today, but on the charts, Sumit, alkyl amines, how do you see this player moving? In the last 1 week, we've seen gains of almost 7 to 8% coming in for the stock. On the 6-month basis, there was a bit of a correction and a dip that we saw coming in post-March. What is the view on the charts now?
Not the 6 months. It has been falling from last July. That means almost a year. So from the levels of almost 4,500 till the levels of 2,000, it has given a good downside. But right now we are expecting some pullback, and there are the signs also. So according to the technicals, we are today we have got a horizontal breakout, and last week we got the trend line breakout of last almost 10 to 12 months. So the stock has done the retest, and today it is giving the close above the 200 moving average. So we are expecting a good up move here. So one can make a fresh position if already holding from the downside. One can keep a trailing stop loss of 2480, and we are expecting the levels of 3200 and 3600 in the coming sessions.
All right, moving on. Harsh, why is Nazara Tech in focus today?
In fact, yesterday there were a couple of bulk deals on Nazara, including Societe Generale, which sold around 4 lakh shares in Nazara Tech at around $682 a share. Now, comprises of less than 1%, in fact just above 0.5% of Nazara Tech's total market capitalization, which is what was up for sale. And what Societe Generale has done is they had actually purchased these shares at around 570 odd levels. In fact, more than that, around 6 lakh shares were purchased in May of this year itself at around 570 levels. So they've sold some of that stake. Over the last 1 month, the stock has rallied 21%. So on the back of that, it seems that they've sold some amount of stake. In fact, year to date, the stock has seen gains of just about 12%. But over the last 1 month, solid gains clocked by Nazara. And on the back of that, we've seen Societe Generale sell some of that stake. Of course, it continues to own some stake in Nazara, which it had bought earlier this financial year. So of course, have to wait and watch as to what its holding is at the end of Q1 FY24. But that's why the stock is in news. In fact, the stock is down 1.5% on the back of that.
Okay, let's move on and talk about Bandhan Bank then, Sumit. When you look at it in just terms of returns, has not been anything exciting for an investor. March lows somewhere around was a 2-year low in the month of March 2023, which was at 182 rupees. Since then, yes, a bit of a recovery that we are seeing. Currently at around those 250 levels, is it an attractive buy?
Not an attractive buy, but we will advise if anybody done the bottom fishing. So one should keep profit booking here. If you will see the levels currently 260, 250, the zone. It is on the weekly time frame. It is the trend line resistance. Then horizontal. Again on the Fibonacci, it has got the rejection of 38.2. That is the most important level. And if you will see, the candle formation is also the inverted hammer type. So we are expecting a more downside here. So if anybody is holding the long position, we would just advise to keep a strict stop loss and exit the positions.
Okay, keep an eye out on that one for Bandhan Bank. But let's move on and talk about Adani Chemicals as well as Balkrishna Industries. Both these are in focus. Why? Obviously, we did have the cyclone which touched the coast of India, that is Cyclone Biparjoy, and considering the cyclone to protect its assets and all, company, whether you look at Balkrishna Industries as well as Adani Chemicals, both of them have announced a bit of a closure in terms of 3-4 days in terms of the operations that are there in their plants. Now, Balkrishna Industries said that they want to protect the assets and people of the company, so they've shut down the company's operations in the Bhuj plant from yesterday late evening for the next 3 to 4 days. Adani Chemicals too, they have temporarily suspended operations in Gujarat, which is Hajipir, and this is going to be from 14th of June. Due to the cyclone, the same is done to actually protect the company, and they are keeping an eye out on that one. Further on, later on, once the cyclone is done, they will be restarting operations.
Right, moving on then, Sumit, let's talk about Bajaj Auto. How is it looking on the charts to you? An attractive two-wheeler player right now at this price?
Here we are we are expecting some downside here. On the daily time frame, if you will check, it has formed a evening star, and on the lower time frame, it has done formed an inverted head and shoulders, inverted cup and handle pattern. So we are expecting some downside. So if any short-term player is there, we would just advise to exit at the current market price. And if anybody wants to play a short trade, so one can short here, and for the targets of 4570 and 4500, keep a stop loss of 4800 here.
Right, moving on, let's talk about Vodafone Idea then, and that particular counter is in focus in today's trading session. You have Economic Times that has reported that Vodafone Idea is proposing to infuse a total equity of 14,000 crore rupees in near term as part of its business revival plan. And also, this move will also see existing promoters, that's Aditya Birla Group as well as the UK's Vodafone Group, infuse half of the overall amount. This is all as per sources. And according to the plan submitted to the government earlier this month, ABG and Vodafone Group will soon invest 2,000 crore rupees as fresh equity in the company. The promoters, remember, have already invested 5,000 crore rupees as fresh equity since the government's telecom revival package in September 2021. And as part of the revival plan, the promoters will work with the company to raise another 7,000 crore rupees either as direct equity or through convertible structures from external investors as well. So that is the news flow surrounding Vodafone Idea. And apart from that, you have Motilal Oswal also, which has gone ahead and upgraded Vodafone Idea to a buy rating from neutral. They set the target price at 7 rupees per share, which is implying about 9% increase from yesterday's closing price. But nevertheless, it has surpassed those target levels as well in today's trading session. So that's Vodafone Idea for you and something to watch out for.
Yeah, that's the news flow. But Sumit, you have picked out Vodafone Idea as well. What's the view on this one? What are the charts indicating? Is that a buy call?
Yes, as per the buzz, the stock has gave the gap up today, but unable to sustain, and there is some profit booking. But as per the technicals, today's close is more important because it will give a close above the 200 moving average. So after a long time, we are seeing this type of scenario. Also, if you will draw a horizontal line, so previous support will act as the current resistance. So level of 8 is important. So if we are getting the close above the 8, we are expecting a higher side. That is a 1040 and 1150. So one can keep a stop loss of 6.5 here.
Moving on, Ashesha, tell us what's happening in Dhampur Sugar.
The company has given some update as far as their expansion plans are concerned. The company yesterday said that they've completed expansion of their grain-based distillery capacity of about 100 KTPD at its unit that was located in Uttar Pradesh. As far as this expansion plan is concerned, it has already been commissioned. It was commissioned yesterday on the 13th of June. This enhanced capacity will help the company as it will be interchangeable between molasses, syrup as well as grain. The company also said that this expansion will help facilitate better utilization of their distillery capacity. So some update coming in with respect to their expansion plan, where they've said that they've completed expansion of 100 KLPD capacity, on the back of which the stock is buzzing in trade today. Of course, it is off the highest point of the day, but despite that, it is sitting on with gains of nearly 1%.
Okay, that's stock number 18 for you all. That's Dhampur Sugar. Moving on to the next one. And Cheryl, you picked out something from my sector. That's Tata Consumers.
I was actually, in fact, waiting when will Vinny actually write that I am going to talk about Tata Consumer. And since she did not do it, I decided that I will take...
Yes, please do tell me the reason why Tata Consumers is buzzing in trade today.
All right, as we know, it is among the top Nifty gainers in today's trading session, hitting the highest level since September 14th, and also giving that push to the Nifty FMCG index as well. Remember, the Nuvama is believing and has come up with a note where they believe that Tata Consumers base businesses of tea and salt have high single-digit revenue growth potential on expanded distribution, and there's scope to gain share from the unorganized market as well. What Nuvama goes on to say that weakness in the global economy is impacting the exports. Volatility in food and crude oil prices and competitive intensity from private labels are a key risk coming in for Tata Consumer. But nevertheless, they have a buy rating on the company. They've set a target price of around 925 rupees per share, much higher than the current market price. And they cited normalizing of EBIT margin and improvement in the international business. So this is the reason why, Vinny, today Tata Consumer is buzzing in trade.
There was a buzz coming in as well, but 5% uptake for Tata Consumers. That's the news flow. But Nuvama is reiterating a buy. Sumit, would you say Tata Consumers is a buy for you at these current levels of 861 as well?
Yes, 100%. If you will see, there is a good trend line breakout in the previous week, and this week we have got a follow-up also with the news also. So after the November 21, this week it is giving the highest close ever, and if we are able to get the close above the 880 levels, so it will be the lifetime high. So we are expecting much more upside from here also. So utilize all the dips with the stop loss of 780 for the target of 970 and 1030 in the coming sessions.
Okay, let's move on then to stock number 20. And Harsh, you picked out Gland Pharma for us. What's the news flow here today? Why is this one in focus?
Yes, absolutely, Vinny. So Gland Pharma has been absolutely beaten over the last 1 year or so. 62% down the stock over the last 12 months, but it's recovered from its 52-week low. Sub 900 is where it actually touched, currently around that 1020 mark. And Bernstein sees a very solid upside on this particular counter. What Bernstein says, in fact, giving it a target price of 1700, what Bernstein is suggesting is that the top molecules seem to be now stabilizing in terms of its demand, and they are starting to see small gains in market share for some of its molecules. They are also starting to see a recovery in demand in other molecules as well, and the share of Herapin seems to have stabilized, and that will of course depend also on supply issue resolution. But largely they are seeing positives starting to play out in Gland Pharma, especially with regard to where supply as well as demand side constraints are concerned. So they are seeing positives on Gland Pharma, giving it a target price of very solid 60% upside is what Bernstein sees on the stock.
Alright, that's the reason why Gland Pharma is in focus in today's trading session. But on that note, we'll slip into a break on this edition of Market Fatafat. But viewers, don't go anywhere. There's lots more stock to discuss after the break.